everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations, and I can feel hair on my face. Drive me nuts. I want to do some gift tags for Christmas, but I want to use some molds on them. Now, if I took my molds and I added clay or resin, it's going to make my gift tags way too heavy. I mean, unless I was using wood gift tags, and there is such a thing. But I'm just using regular old paper gift tags. And so we are going to actually make up a toilet paper to be exact, toilet paper mush to go in there. Now, I've done toilet paper in the molds before where I'm layering it, I'm taking a slurry of white kind of craft glue and water and spritzing that in and doing that. And that works great. And that works perfect, especially, you know, I did the whole background layered with that. And so I was able to add texture. For this, I just want to go into some small little molds. And so to do that, it's going to be easiest. Now you could use, this is good toilet paper, but you could use cheapo toilet paper for this. What I am doing is I am just, these aren't the best scissors in the world, but I just want to kind of cut it up so that, you know, you could tear it up. You could, you know, rip it up into little pieces, but I just want to have it smaller so that it's going to kind of break down in my water a little bit better. So all that you're going to do is cut up, tear up a bunch of toilet paper into a plastic container that, you know, is for crafting. We're going to be adding glue and water into this, so you don't want it anything perfect. I am not going to color mine because I'm doing a bunch of different molds, and so I'm just going to be painting them out afterward based on what I need, what I want. But you could drop in a little bit of acrylic paint or some food color or whatever into this. So I'm just going to continue cutting, and I'll come back when my cutting is done. Now, as my container gets full, I went and got my better scissors, so it makes quick work of this. I have more toilet paper strips sitting off to the side because this will kind of shrink down as we start creating our mush. And there's no set formula for this. I mean, I'm gonna add a bit of water and I'm gonna add some glue. I don't want it to be all glue because I want this to kind of go into almost a bit of a clay-like consistency. So you can see how much that shrinks down. I just want to get this mixed a little bit, and then I will look at adding more. So you can see that your fibers start to break down, and quite honestly, really inexpensive toilet paper works best because it just breaks down even faster, right? So I don't know, maybe toilet paper for a septic tank even. But let me get more of this added in. The water helps break down those fibers, and it helps to have that glue kind of dilute a little bit and kind of get absorbed into those fibers. That's what's going to kind of dry this and hold it in shape. And I have a whack of molds off to the side because we need to leave this to dry overnight. And so I don't have tons of duplicates of molds, and I don't want to be 4 days in the making of this. So I've got a bunch of molds. And again, just like with your regular clay, a little bit of this goes a long way, right? That we don't need to have a huge, big container of it. Whoops, okay. probably more of you than I needed in there. But we'll get this mixed up, and we're just looking for it to be kind of like a pasty clay consistency, right? So you can see that that's all kind of turning into a bit of a mush. There's no other way to put that. And that's really what we're looking for. So once we have that, and I'm just kind of spooning around, pushing it against the sides of the bowl, that's just helping, again, to kind of break it down, smooth out my toilet paper clay a little bit better. And why this makes a difference rather than using the air dry clay is that this is so light. It's so much lighter for our projects than anything. So let me, I've got so many of these over here. So some, like, for instance, I'm not doing these big animals, but those two little floral swags would look great on the side of, a tag. So what I am looking at doing is just pushing this down into my mold. And you can use kind of like the end of a paintbrush to help push it into those crevices. You can use your plastic spoon to kind of move it around and push it in, right? And use it to smooth out the back. I just use my fingers. This is just the white PVA glue, so I'm really not worried about it, but I like to show you the spoon and paintbrush trick, because if you don't want to touch this and get glue on you, that's the way to go. Now you can, the difference with doing it this way versus the other way that I showed you before, and I'll drop the link in, is that I can kind of fit it into the nooks and crannies a little bit better so that I don't have to do a lot of trimming afterward. But because this is paper, it's easy enough to trim if you have some overhang or you just want to highlight some of the details a little bit better. But you can see, let me just smooth this one out. I can use the micro rim as well to help me trim off some of those edges on these. I want to have a nice smooth back on these because I'm going to be gluing them down onto my gift tags, and I don't want them to be super raised or anything. But we're just filling our molds and putting them off to the side to dry overnight. And that's all that we're doing at this stage. So I'm just grabbing whatever molds look like there's a piece I could use or a section I could use. I mean, these big old ornament molds obviously aren't going to work, but just that little top part could work. So because this is nice and thick as opposed to resin, I can just partially fill molds to be able to work possibly. And because I don't know exactly all of my tags yet and what they're going to look like, I can have a variety of these ready to go that I can fit to the tag. Our molds have had, well, I'm going to say overnight to dry, but the really skinny ones like this were dry overnight. The bigger ones like those angels and that sort of thing, they took 2 days. And what I found was with this one, unlike when I just used the full tissue, is that there's some edging from just the glue water that as I was pushing them in and making sure that they went down into the details, that kind of flowed over the top. And it dries crusty too, which you kind of have to expect, right? But I'm just taking, you know, a little pair of scissors or a little pair of clippers, and I'm just clipping those little edges away, and super easy to do, and then they're fine. here's the thing. Super light, and they're really quite durable in the sense that, you know, we're going to be able to paint them and things. But could I bend it and break it apart? Absolutely. But that's the difference with this, is that we're looking at these being lightweight alternatives and options for us. That here's a snowflake that I unmolded. I did unmold one of the angels. So we're looking for them to be lightweight alternatives, which means, look how easily they just pop out once they're all dry like that. They're going to be going onto, you know, cardboard, or, you know, maybe a wooden tag from the dollar store. I have some cards that I'm going to be putting them on. So they're not meant to be something that's going to last for years. They're going on a gift tag. And that, I think, is the beauty of using something like the toilet paper versus an expensive product, you know, or more expensive product anyway, of the clay or the resin. We're not looking for this being a permanent element on anything that we are embellishing. The first thing that I want to do is kind of lay out my tags. So these bigger elements, I have these little tags, which actually have a gold rim. I'll probably lose that anyway as I go to paint them. But these ones I'm going to want to glue down first and let them start to set up, because I'm going to paint them all one solid color. And for this, because it's very uneven and I want to make sure that they're adhered well, I'm just going to use a Gorilla adhesive. I'm assuming for this, you could get away with just like a white tacky craft glue, which would be fine. But because I've got a lot of crevices in the backs of these, I'm just using the thicker glue so that it can kind of fill in all of those nooks and crannies. So I'm going to glue those down and put them off to the side so that they can dry and set up a bit before I'm ready to get to them and start painting them. When it comes to these other tags, I'm going to want to paint them before I adhere them. For instance, these brown ones, I don't think that I want to paint the background on those, but I am going to want to paint out the little pieces. So laying them out gives me a bit of an idea of perhaps what I want to try. I'm thinking these ones I may treat a little bit the same as the angels as I'm looking at them. So these ones with just this kind of pattern on them. And all those details. I'm thinking I'm just going to glue it down the side, set that off, and let that dry. As for these other ones, I want the holly to look like holly, and, you know, maybe the snowflakes to be in a snowflake kind of color. So I'm going to paint them separately, and I'm just going to grab, you know, a couple of small little craft brushes from over on the side, and I'm just going to get them painted up. So, you know, here I'm going to do maybe a bit of a mid-tone green on the holly, and then add in some of the darker green. I'm going to try and keep them sort of lined up here so that I know which one I kind of have planned for which one. But you're just going to paint them out as you would anything else. And you could use any kind of craft paint, any chalk paint. I'm just using an inexpensive acrylic paint from the craft store because I have it on hand. It's not going to matter. For some of our little tags, I'm going to pull from some of my transfers here because I have a bunch of them. They're not all from this year. Sorry, not sorry. I gotta use them, guys. But it's one option. You could certainly have decoupaged designs on from napkins or that sort of thing as well. I just want some little elements here, and so I'm just stealing pieces, and I don't know which ones I want, so I'm just, this was such a nice one. It's like the second one. I worked my way through the first and then still wanted more, so now I still have leftovers. Sorry, same thing for this one. Although this one I just sold one today, and I still have one in the shop, so I don't feel as bad because they're still available, this guy. I don't know if there's pieces in here. I thought there were some pieces that I thought maybe I wanted. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I was just teasing you with this one. That's possible, right? That one. Oh, this was an old one. This is one I thought maybe. So first up, let me get a stick. I'm thinking, look how pretty that would be. Now, you know, some of these are going to be a little bit bigger, but I'm okay with that. You know, just kind of cut some of these down. And so I'm thinking what might go for these pieces toward the bottom so that I can get closer, save that, to her head. And then I can fill those pieces in after. And then that comes across here. All right. Save these little pieces for patching in. Because we're kind of taking this down and across like this. And I think these ones got painted out in, what was the color? Champlain by Fusion. So they're sealed, which gives the transfer something a little bit more to stick to. But they should transfer quite easily onto that painted surface, just as long as I've actually rubbed. And just kind of lift slowly, making sure, so that if there's a piece that's not affixed, you can go back in. I want to add these guys in. I need nails. There we go. All right, and let me just patch that little piece in as well. Oh, Take the backing off. So this is the beauty of these, is that you can layer them over top of each other so that you can fill in gaps, you can rough it out, so you could see that that didn't fit perfectly, but that's all good. Okay, so I'm going to do something similar to all of these. I painted these small guys in that color, so those will all get kind of treated that same way, but I want to show you getting it finished off. Now, I want to do two things to it, so I have some brown. All right, this looks blue, but it'll be brown. I've got some blue, brown. Oh my gosh, I have some brown archival ink, and I just want to kind of go around the edges of this tag and just kind of antique it out a little bit. And I want to get down into, where's my little brush? So I'm going to take a brush with that ink and I'm going to push it down in around as well. Okay, and you could go over the surface a little bit if you wanted to add a little bit in there. That was a little heavy. That corner, that's a little heavy, just so you know. I'm looking at it thinking that was heavy. And I'm just looking for where I lost these. That's the silver. That's the copper, there's the gold. Okay, perfect. So what I do have, I just have Annie Sloan right now. That's what's open and available. If I had Rub and Buff, that would work as well. I'm just taking a little bit of the gilding wax and I'm going to highlight some of those details all over my angel. And you can see that even though this was done with our toilet paper clay, that angel is coming up just fine. Now, these bigger cards, I didn't stick a hole in them yet. What I will do is I will put a hole in that corner and attach a bit of a ribbon. What you can do is you can use the back as your to and from. And you could take like the apothecary stamp from Iron Orchid Design, and you could type, stamp in a little box on there saying to and another one saying from. You could just hand write it, whatever you like, right? I'm leaving that part up to you. But this, you can see how well just that little toilet paper mush, toilet paper clay, worked at creating that definition, and that becomes a really cute, pretty little tag. For some of our colored ones, let's put that one off to the side and I'll finish those cream colored ones. We do have, like our silver snowflakes. This one I did silver and then rubbed in the copper, so they were just painted metallic. And then we have these ones that were painted with our acrylic paints. And so, these ones we could do with, if this is, think about where you're gluing that on, you could do a sprig coming across it. You could leave this as being the to to from and not write it on the back if you'd like. But you can do like a sprig of the real holly and then, well, let's just do that one and see. How big do I want it? Maybe to here. Because then I can use that other sprig for another one. in cutting apart some of these transfers, they really end up going pretty far. I want to make sure my little red berries get in there. Let's get that guy added in. This one I will need to drill a hole in. I don't think it had a hole. No, that one I'm going to drill a hole in. Normally when I apply this onto, oh, I kind of like it coming upward. Normally when I apply this onto a painted surface, I would seal it. And you could still go ahead and seal it. Because it's a tag, I don't really care. So I'm not going to. So what I might do is drill my tag hole maybe there and affix my little raised component here. So in this instance, we're just kind of thinking relative to where I need to attach my hole since I don't have one. And so how I'm going to use it more than anything else. Okay, that guy's going to go sit over to the side to dry. And that's what we're going to do for the rest. So I'm going to start to just, oh, this one. I think what I want to do also, and I forgot to just beforehand, is I want to add just a little bit of glitz to it as well. So on these wooden ones, before I start gluing pieces on, my bad, I'm just going to take a finger of that gold, and I am just going to put a little bit of that gold around the edging so that it finishes off the outside of that edge, but then it gives that little bit of that dusting of it as well. And then you can add like a dusting of the gold over the top of these as well, if you would like, just to kind of tie them in. And I think that you can see now that these are fully dry, they are really quite durable, but they are super light. And that's the point. Let's take a look at our finished tags. So you could go to town on embellishing these. I wanted to more demonstrate the durability of our toilet paper clay. So we're able to certainly on our little wooden tags embellish and have them hanging off the back. They're gonna be fine. And these guys, oh, these guys are like a pair. Together, they make up the bunny. And then they get half a bunny each. But, you know, certainly glued onto wood, they're extremely durable, right? Just as durable as the tag is going to be itself. What I really liked was seeing on just, you know, some, you know, the brown craft tags, more than durable enough for them. And then even just this cardstock, you know, oops, they can take being dropped. You know, our tags with our angels are also super cute, and they're just on that cardboard. But again, this is the point, is if we're doing our gift tags and they're going onto wood, you could get away with clay, you could get away with resin. But if you're putting them onto cards, I think the clay and the resin is going to be way too heavy for something like that, and you'd have far different results. But putting them onto this, these are still light enough to be able to use. And I think it gives you a lot more options in terms of where you can go with this. The nice thing about it is, look at the detail that we still got with the toilet paper in the molds. we're still getting all those beautiful details. Look at all these florals on this one, highlighted by the copper. So we're not losing a lot of details. You just need to make sure that you are pushing it in really solid. And one of the things that I would do to help them dry faster is when I've got them into the molds, I would also really push it in just to be able to, and then kind of dab away some of that excess moisture that rises to the surface. That's going to help get some of that excess water out as well and have them dry sooner. Not a big hardship, just to anticipate filling the molds and leaving them for a day or two to be able to dry out, and then go to town with all of the little pieces that you've got. I'm really impressed with how durable they are and how much detail I got out of them. And I think that this is a good alternative. One, certainly if you're putting them onto paper or you want to include them in a lot of your paper crafts, but just as an alternative for keeping some of the expense down sometimes. And I know that's an issue for many. So don't think that your molds require you to, expense resin or clay or any of those kinds of things. You got some toilet paper, you got some craft glue, you've got an option. Hope this was helpful. Hope that, hope you give it a try. It was fun and it impressed me in terms of the results that I got from this. Did have to trim up some of the edges because I wasn't particularly neat about it, but that's me. I'm not as detail oriented with some of this, but it was a lot of fun and I think it's a good alternative. Let me know what you think. Love to hear from you as always. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. And until then, take care.